Hey guys, in this video we're going to be covering fire blocking, otherwise called draft stop. We're going to be going over what it is, where to put it, and a few unique scenarios. So this is what we call a fire block or a draft stop. It's a block that covers the entire cavity so that when there's drywall on here, air cannot move between these. The purpose of this is so that if this house ever catches fire, as the fire moves up this wall here, it's going to be slowed down by this block. If this block wasn't here, the wind created from the fire and the heat rising is going to run up this cavity very quickly. But this block slows it down so that it takes longer to get into the attic and onto the roof. We also put a draft stop or a fire block in the floor system. So if you want to see how we did that while we were setting floor trusses, click here to watch that video. Here's another example of a fire block. These fire blocks are serving two purposes. The first one is a draft stop fire block. Second one is a shear block. So this is the edge of a sheeting seam so that we're nailed into these blocks at 6 inches on center, which makes this wall, this shear wall, a lot stronger. So in this case, since we flipped it on its side, it does both the shear block and the fire block. Here's an example of just a shear block. This is a 2x4 on its side. Now, we get our 6-inch on center nailing, but we don't get any fire stop protection. So the code in our area for fire blocks is any wall 10 feet or over needs a fire block in it. So we have an 11-foot wall here, and even though it's an interior wall, since it's over 10 feet tall, we're still putting fire blocks across it. Here's another example. This is a 2x4 interior wall, and we're 11 feet tall, so we need fire blocks in it. But if you look, right behind this wall is the roof trusses. Now that's at 9 foot. So when we put these fire blocks in, we're gonna level across here, and we're gonna put them in right at the ceiling plane. That puts your fire stop right below your attic line. The reason we do this is because we don't want the fire to come up and go right into the attic. So instead of putting our fire blocks down here in the wall, we're going to put them level with the bottom of that truss so that it has a better chance of stopping the fire before it goes into the attic. Okay, to do this, we're going to level across the bottom of these trusses here and make a mark there. We'll do that on the other side and then chalk a line between them and put our blocks, our fire blocks, below this line. Now we're going to cut our blocks here. So one way of doing this is if you have a worm drive saw with 1.5 inches between this edge and this side of the blade, then you can take your board here and flush it up on this side of the stud. Then you just put your guard, the edge of your guard, tight to this stud here, and cut right through like that. You can see when we slide it over here, this one's a tad big. So now we just keep flushing this end here, and we'll go down. Same thing, flush the end, go down. Now you got all your notches in your board, so you can take the board off. As long as you keep them in order here, you just finish your cuts. This will take some practice to make sure these blocks are the right length. But since we're measuring down here, when we make these cuts, even if the studs bow out up top, we're gonna shrink them to our blocks or push our blocks in there, and that will make sure that these studs are spaced properly. Now we're good to put our blocks in. We're gonna flush them up on each side of the stud so that it fills that whole cavity. We're going below the line, so we're right at our attic level, and then we're gonna nail them in. So when you're putting on shear blocks, it's just to nail your sheeting to. But fire blocks are different. In this scenario right here, if we were nailing 6 inches on center around the edge and we had to shear block this, we would just leave this block out because our nails are within 6 inches. But for fire blocking, every cavity in a wall over 10 foot needs a draft stop. So we're gonna cut a little block to finish off this run. So now we got this row of fire blocks done here, level with the attic. And I just wanna clarify that it's not a requirement to put these level with the attic, it's just best practice. So that's how you install fire blocks. Quick summary is any wall that's over 10 feet tall, you want a fire block completely blocking that cavity. Occasionally on exterior walls, you're gonna have to notch the block around a backer. So you might have to get a little fancy with your blocks. If you guys got any value out of this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're doing a video about every skill it takes to frame a house. Can you just pop them up on the screen during that? Okay.